Marching for sex. You've heard that term before. In fact, you answered in your application for the leadership program, what does marching for sex mean to you? So, Carlin, why is that phrase important?
Well, it was Betty's choice. Betty was at a crossroads and she was talking with Grant and she was entering the feminist movement, but she was upset because they weren't focusing on sex and pleasure. They were focusing on birth control and all of the things, the strides we made in the 70s. But Betty's like, why won't they embrace pleasure? And Grant looked at her. He said, well, they're not going to. And then he posed the question to her. He said, will you march for sex? It
Mhm.
can't be a man, it has to be a woman. And that's when Betty made a choice that changed the rest of her life, which is why we're sitting here and you're watching this video. And when she started marching for sex, think about her talk at the Now Sexuality Conference. She didn't talk about the orgy scene.
Mhm.
She didn't talk about all the extreme advanced skills that she'd acquired. She talked about her masturbation practice. She showed the vulva slides. She talked about going on her sexual journey without judgment or shame and where she might end up having sex with plants. If you think about that moment, that's how we
Mhm.
march for sex. We're open, we have no shame, we have no guilt, and we're sharing who we are as sexual people. Who we have sex with, all that stuff, none of that matters.
Right, right, right. So it's a willingness to talk about your personal experience without shame and without judgment and holding that space for others. It's almost kind of like in a body sex circle, we go first, right? I notice when I'm open and I can talk with my friends about my sexuality, they're more willing to talk to me about their sexuality. It's not always easy to make that choice, and I'm thinking back to when we recorded that video about
I
kink
had
and
no idea that
BDSM.
you weren't, like, out in the kink scene. I had no idea, I'm sorry.
Well, I am out, but it's just there's a difference when you're Facebook out, and it's not that's a whole new level of out. And I decided it was good. It was okay. I mean, I had that moment of, like, but it was just a moment. And that's what it means to march for sex. It's like I might have some hesitation, but I'm going to manage myself and manage my fear because what's holding us back from marching for sex, right? We're afraid someone else is going to judge us.
That was my goop moment,
Mhm.
and Betty posed the question to me because I said, "Oh my god, what if my son hates me? Because now all his friends can see my vulva and my orgasm on Netflix." I mean,
Mhm.
that's a big one, and she said, "He's yours, and what do you think this is gonna mean for womankind?
Mhm.
It's a first.
Mhm.
Are you willing to march for sex?" And ultimately, I knew I would regret not doing it
Exactly.
more than being out there. So I was like, I can take it. And what happened? Not one piece of criticism.
Mhm. Mhm.
So people respect truth and they respect honesty and courage.
Yes, yes. So, Carlin, does that mean that we have to have a sex life like Betty's in order to march for sex?
I don't know if anyone could have a sex life like Betty's because it was that rare moment in the early 70s, pre HIV,
Mhm.
pre herpes, when no. I mean, Betty ended with monogamy, and it's not about following her. I mean, it's our journeys. Each journey is different. Each
Mhm.
journey is our own. And being connected to my sexual self has nothing to do with the type of experiences, it's the depth of
Yes.
the experience. So I could have sex with 100 people and still not be connected to myself.
Mhm.
So it's just kind of Betty's openness to
Mhm.
explore
Mhm.
that we want to share with you that really should be the guiding principle.
Mhm. Yes. Yes, it's about your own sexual journey and not feeling shame or not judging
Mhm.
yourself or fearing the judgment of others.